Hi Hanies, and welcome to the next video on my to-do list this Leo season, and this one is the Aquarius Virgo Quincunx, and it is one that I've been really interested in doing for a while. And first of all, if you don't know what a quincunx is, before I explain, actually, I really have to thank Meredith from Soul Navigation here on YouTube, because she, in one of her videos, taught me all about quincunxes, not just what quincunxes are, but like made it very fun and very interesting, just the way that she talked about quincunxes, and I'm gonna link that video in my description. But basically, a quincunx is, so you may well know of oppositions in astrology or opposite signs. So, for example, Aries opposing Libra, so they're opposite ends of the same pole, or Scorpio opposing Taurus, and so on. If you look at the birth chart, it's basically, you can find these oppositions by looking at one sign and then looking at the sign that is directly opposite that sign in the birth chart, and that's the opposition. A quincunx is, let's say again, Aries. So a sign that quincunx is Aries is either of the two signs that is Aries, that is next to Aries opposites. So the opposite of Aries being Libra, and on either end of Libra we have Virgo and Scorpio. And so Virgo and Scorpio quincunx Aries. And like in a nutshell, if an opposition is, first of all, what or who you are sort of easily, let's say, annoyed by, for example, the Virgo Pisces opposition, for example, you can very often find these readings and interpretations of Virgos not liking Pisceans for their overly lax, lazy, drowsy kind of way about going through life, and vice versa. Pisceans can kind of get really annoyed by Virgoans for being too picky, too serious, uptight, and all these kind of traits. The opposition can also, however, be about actually, if you go through your life, if you look back and see the kind of exes, partners, crushes, or if you use dating apps, so if you hook up and you happen to know the sun sign of these people that you had relationships with or hooked up with, you'll find that the majority are actually, they actually have their suns in your opposing sign. Also about oppositions is that they tend to, and so I should say, with oppositions we get not just friction but also actually something fits. And this is because with oppositions it's actually someone or something in which you see, you're just doing the same thing that I'm doing but in a different way. You kind of still get the person or still get the thing, and that's what is actually part of the attraction. The opposites attract. But with a quincunx, it really is completely unexplored territory. So Aries does oppose Libra, and in many ways has friction with Libra, but also kind of gets what Libra's about. It's just both archetypes go for something in a same but different way. The quincunx is Aries really has no idea about Virgo. Aries really has no idea about Libra. Sorry, not Libra, Scorpio. That's kind of how we would interpret the quincunx. It's completely unknown or unexplored territory. And that can mean, I think, one of two things: that Aries just never really hangs out with or forms too many relationships with Virgoans or Scorpios. Or it can mean that there's something intriguing and interesting about the relationship that the Aries might form with the Virgoan or with the Scorpio. And it's intriguing because, first of all, it's unexplored territory. And in this particular example of Aries, I think Aries would be especially intrigued to explore Virgoan or Scorpionic territory, but because Aries is that archetype of the explorer, of the pioneer. But anyway, and this is something that I learned from Meredith, and that you can go and learn if you haven't seen Meredith's video already, but it's what actually makes a relationship really interesting, and that is actually what you can look at when you want to think about compatibility, or when you want to think about, at the very least, what keeps a particular relationship interesting. Because with quincunxes, you never quite know. Aries never quite knows what Virgo or what Scorpio is going to do, and vice versa. Virgo never quite knows what Aries is going to do, because Virgo quincunxes Aries, Aries quincunxes Virgo, and that is actually what makes a relationship interesting, unpredictable, and keeps the partner guessing, keeps the other guessing, as opposed to if you were to, let's say, have a relationship with someone who is your sun sign opposite. It's not as unpredictable or as interesting. Not to say that it's not interesting, but it's not as it's not intriguing in the same way that a quincunx is going to be. And for some people, that's a really important factor when we talk about a relationship, keeping things spicy, interesting, unpredictable. So if you are interested in that, if you like that kind of relationship, then you can start to look more into quincunxes when we think of compatibility. Anyway, I picked this particular image from Greece. Now, if you are my age, quite likely, I'm 28, quite likely you grew up watching or having to watch Grease, the film, and then later there was the musicals. But I've watched Grease, the film, so many times growing up. Basically, if you haven't watched this, if you don't know this, the character who plays Rizzo, in this first picture you can see Rizzo is in, what is she wearing? She's wearing like this sort of, I think it's purple silk sort of outfit. Let me just, I've lost it, but I think it's like purple. You'll see it later. Let me just actually have a look. Let me have a look. Yeah, she's kind of wearing this purple, silky sort of satin top, and then those sort of lovely short pink shorts. And she's the one who's like dancing on top of the bed. That's Rizzo, kind of mocking Sandy. Sandy is the character who, in this other image that I'm about to show you, kind of walks in on this mockery, being mocked. It kind of walks in on herself being mocked, catches Rizzo. And anyway, Rizzo is played by Stockard Channing, the actress Stockard Channing. And when I looked, obviously I didn't know at the time when I was watching Grease anything about astrology, but looking back, or looking at the astrology charts of these actresses, Stockard Channing is actually an Aquarius sun and a Libra moon, and the actress who played Sandy, Olivia Newton-John, is a Virgo rising, Libra sun, Cancer moon. And so what you get, especially with Olivia Newton-John, is a particular actress very suitable for this kind of character, that is all about being, let's say, goody two-shoes, or that is all about being balanced, or that is all about being perfect in some way, or that is all about sensitivity as well, and care, especially with the Cancer moon there. And then Stockard Channing, I don't know Stockard's rising sign, but the sun is in Aquarius, and so you get ego that is fulfilled by being different, by being unique, by being a rebel, and so you get also a perfect kind of actress for the character of Rizzo. But anyway, I just wanted to illustrate the Aquarius Virgo Quincunx with this particular scene that just stayed with me of having this kind of sandy Saturday moment. And this is why I think, I'm going to go through some reasons why I think Aquarius and Virgo kind of intrigue each other, are interested in each other. Aquarius is actually as quirky and weird and rebellious and alien as we often associate Aquarius as being. The strand of astrology that I go by actually places Saturn as the ruler of Aquarians, and then Uranus kind of in the background, a bit further away, because the kind of astrology that I subscribe to is we are on Earth, and so we're first and foremost affected by the sun and the moon most powerfully, and then we go outwards, and so if you're on Aquarius sun, it's actually Saturn that is going to have more of an effect on you, just by that logic, than Uranus. Even though Uranus was discovered later, and that's why a lot of astrologers put Uranus now as the ruler of Aquarius. I personally put Saturn first, but anyway, despite all the kind of Aquarian connotations we might have, again, the weirdness, the quirkiness, the rebel, actually, it's Saturn that leads them, that leads these Aquarians. And Saturn is that planet, that archetype of discipline, of credit, of status, of the long and hard work and effort put into things. And then there's Uranus. And so what I really always, what I'm starting to really feel about Aquarians is that they do most brilliantly when they are serious about their uniqueness, when they are serious about their cause, when they are serious about whatever it is that they're rebelling against, or whoever it is they're rebelling against. When they're serious about it, when they've got the structure, when they put the time and effort into it actually, because Saturn's also about actuality, then you just see all these Aquarians absolutely explode and blossom. But then what can happen also with Aquarians is those who don't take uniqueness or quirkiness, or they don't take resistance seriously, and so what they do is they just fake uniqueness, or they wear other people's or different masks, or they kind of have these unique charades, or they will rebel against things and people just for the sake of it, and that's when you'll see them suffer a lot, because Saturn is here, and Saturn's like, no, this has no structure. First of all, it has no foundation because it's fake, or because it's pointless. Saturn's very much, ask any Capricorn, Saturn is very much about having a point. What is the point of something? And so if, this Aquarian is not, if there's no point in what they're doing, if there's no serious severity in what they're doing, and that can be anything from performance to being a fucking police officer, like it doesn't matter what we're talking about. If there's no point and there's no severity, then you see them suffer, and they're suffering the hard way, those other Aquarians, because it's Saturn, and Saturn's about discipline, and it's often associated with the father figure of the zodiac, or the father kind of archetype. And authority is also a Saturnian thing, so you can often see these other Aquarians run up against authority in a bad way, run up against authority figures in a way where they're punished or really, really restricted somehow. And then, so you can see actually in this scene the Aquarian archetype. You can see Rizzo, really. And also Aquarius is an air sign, right? So you can see the archetype playing out here as well, in that Aquarius being opposed to Leo, actually. This Aquarius-Leo pole, both of these archetypes love the spotlight, or they appear to love the spotlight. What they actually love is a group. They love a group, they love a stage, they love different characters and roles coming together. But in the air sign Aquarian sense, they love an exchange of ideas. They love, sorry, they love the kind of mental titillation that can come from multiple people being in one room, in one space, and having a particular controversial thing being batted around. And in the case of this scene, the controversial thing is, oh my god, I'm mocking someone who's just in the bathroom. So Sandra D is the mocking title that Rizzo uses to make fun of Sandy. Sandy is the character's real name, but Sandra D is what Rizzo uses, and Rizzo is being super controversial and showy here and rebellious here in this scene because Sandy is just in the bathroom while this kind of charade is going on in the bedroom, and Rizzo is singing. She's performing this. So it's probably, and we find out later that this is the case. Sandy probably can hear this, right? Just through the wooden door. And so it's very rebellious, it's very controversial, it's very out of the box, extreme, you could even say. And this is all playing out in this Aquarian way through the character of Rizzo. Virgo, then, if we talk about Virgo is actually led by Earth, first of all. So Earth is this planet of, being an Earth sign, Virgo is led by not just the element, but also the planet Earth. And what you get with lots of Virgoan archetypes is this sense that they are dry, this sense that they are mundane, boring, dull, this sense that they are servile in some cases, this sense that they are very dutiful, the sense that they are very humble, the sense that they are pure, virginal, the sense that they are, and they are a yin sign already, so they're a yin sign, so that's a passive, more introspective sign, but one that is also often called the server, the behind-the-scenes archetype, or the hermit as well, the person who is kind of sitting quietly somewhere, or locked up quietly somewhere, with a lamp or a light, or in the tower deck that I use, it's actually a turtle or a tortoise. I don't know which one it is, but a turtle or a tortoise with a lamp on its shell. So again, this sense of kind of like Cancer, actually, being a sort of wallflower or hermit sort of archetype that has light, and this light is kind of, in the Virgoan sense, this light is the consciousness of the details, this consciousness of perfections and imperfections, and this consciousness of sense and realities and rationalities. All this light is had and possessed, but it's often kept close to the chest of the Virgoan archetype. It's often kept hidden away or seemingly dimmed. And that's where I think these descriptions of humility come from when we talk about Virgo. But then Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and then Uranus, and Virgo is ruled by Earth and then Mercury. And so you can see Mercury coming through here in this scene as well, because Mercury is this planet of intelligence, this planet of quick thinking, this planet of communication, this planet of interaction with the locality. That's the things, the people, ideas that are immediately around you. It is, again, the mundane, but the mundane in the mental sense. So it's like when you walk out on the street, the conversations and interactions you have just with anyone and everyone. It's nothing grand. It's nothing like armchair academic or anything like that. It's nothing religious or cultural necessarily, or broad. It's not Sagittarius, Gemini. We're talking mainly about Gemini things when we talk about locality and immediacy, and Mercury as well. It's not really Sagittarian interaction and communication and thinking or thought or knowledge. It's Mercurial or Gemini. But in the Virgoan sense, when we talk about Virgo and Mercury, it's still a lot of processing of information, data, a lot of relating to multiple people, let's say, or multiple ideas, or multiple details, multiple possibilities as well. It's not just that, but again, in the Virgoan sense, it's all going in. It's all going within. And so, again, the Mercury in Virgo types, Mercury in Virgo people, will also, unlike Mercury in Gemini people, seem to be less talkative, seem to be less communicative, because more of the thought and the intelligence is going within, is kept within, like that light of the hermit kind of archetype, or the tortoise kind of archetype. Like that light, it's kept, it's more introspective, it's more internalized even. And so although Virgo is actually this archetype of being critical, I don't actually think you find too many. With Virgo rising, definitely you can find this, because that's the worldview of the individual. But I think with like a Mercury in Virgo placement, at least, they're not actually as outwardly critical as you may think. And it's often said about Virgoan archetypes that the Virgoan is much harsher on themselves than other people or other things, and much more analytical and critical of the self first than other people or things. So you see this archetype playing out through Olivia Newton-John playing Sandy, when Sandy comes out of the bathroom and she looks like really hurt. This is the Cancer moon, I think, really coming through the acting. She looks really hurt, and there's also the innocence and of course the Libran aesthetics that are all coming through as well. Just this pure kind of sort of well kept, sort of just somehow pure character coming out of the bathroom and saying, "Are you making fun of me, Race?" and sounding like she might cry. All this sort of Virgoan archetypes play out here. But what I also wanted to talk about, and this is the really intriguing thing, is we get this goody two-shoes thing that goes on both with Virgo and Aquarius. But we don't necessarily think about this when we think of Aquarius. We almost automatically think of it when we think of Virgo, this goody two-shoes kind of thing, this butter wouldn't melt kind of archetype, this innocence, which is obviously bullshit in many cases, but this innocence. We often quickly associate that with Virgo, but actually I think, and as well as Virgo, with Aquarius, what we get is this similar goody two-shoes thing, which actually thinks, because it's air, it's about thought, it's about rationality, it's about ideas, communication, which thinks in a very humane way, which thinks about humanity. You know, it's often said that Aquarius doesn't have emotions. So Aquarius is very detached. Detached is like one of the most commonly used words here on YouTube, among YouTube astrologers. Detached. Aquarius is detached. But Aquarius is very intellectually, mentally, relationally attached to humanity. And so what you see is perhaps different to the Leo heavy archetype, with this Rizzo Aquarian archetype. The moment Sandy comes in and catches Rizzo, you see Rizzo feeling basically really bad, and the reaction is not, she doesn't continue the mockery. She doesn't continue it. She immediately stops it, and you see Saturn coming in right away. You see Saturn come in, and the archetype of Saturn disciplining it and being like, enough is enough. Like, restrict yourself, restrain yourself, and also in public think of your status and redeem your status, and Rizzo redeems her status as best as she can by saying, I think something like, it's just a joke. It was just a joke. I think she said something like that, but the way she said it as well, I remember, was kind of remorseful, regretful, or sounding like something that has been disciplined. And if you just look at Rizzo in the film, or in the musical, if you've seen the musical, I haven't seen the musical, but like in the film anyway, you see physically, visibly, she her body language immediately shuts down, immediately is less performative and mocking, and becomes actually quite shy, shy, prudish, is that a word? Prudish, or wants to kind of hide in some sense, hide herself in some sense, like a tortoise, like a hermit, wants to kind of do that. Anyway, later in the film, what happens is Sandy actually becomes more of this typical Aquarian archetype of, when you see Sandy at the very end, she's all, tell me about it, stud, when she talks to Danny Zuko, this guy who she's in love with, blah, blah, blah. She becomes completely different. It's very much thanks to Rizzo and all the other kind of Aquarian archetypes playing out in the film, which are about standing outside of the crowd, standing out, rebelling, and just seizing and running with your individuality. All that sort of stuff plays out later in the film. But also what we see is Rizzo herself. There's this song that Rizzo has, which is like a solo song, and there's this lyric, and I may be not 100% remembering the lyric, but it goes something like, I don't steal and I don't lie, but I can feel and I can cry, and I bet you never knew, but to lie in front of you, that's the worst thing I could do. And I really loved, I love to think about that song when I think about Rizzo, because you see the real Aquarius, you see the Aquarius archetype, which very often secures, protects its emotional sanctity, its emotional core, protects it, and actually in front of all the uniqueness and all the rebelliousness is the severity, is the seriousness. And you see this person, this archetype saying, actually, I've never stolen, I've never cheated, I've never lied, but you think these things about me because, I smoke, or I swear, or I'm the leader of the, what were they called? The pink girls? The pink the pink girls, the pink ladies? Can't remember what they were called, but she's like, I bet you would never have expected. And again, we get the unpredictability of Aquarius as well. I bet you couldn't have predicted that. Actually, I am quite pure, or innocent, or good, or goody two-shoes, just like Virgo. And I think this is one of the reasons why Aquarius is intrigued by Virgo, but then Virgo is also very intrigued by Aquarius, because Aquarius is at least co-ruled by Uranus, which is the higher octave of Mercury. So it's like worlds away from Mercury in the sense of how it thinks. It's completely out of the box. And I think Virgo, being a Mercury-led archetype, is actually really intrigued by these Uranian, Aquarian types, and would love to be able to access, understand, interact with these more Uranian ways of thinking, ways of talking, and in the Aquarian sense, ways of being individual, ways of being unique, ways of being okay with resisting. And Aquarius is a yang sign, so going out, extroverting, displaying, putting out. And so you get, I just think this is a great scene, especially the Sandra Dee mocking scene, but also the film in general. It's a great example of the Aquarius Virgo Quincunx playing out. That's all I really wanted to say on this topic. Thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next video, my loves. Yeah, have a lovely Wednesday. It's hump day, day of Mercury and Venus, so do enjoy. Okay, bye bye, loves.